Welcome everyone. I'm really excited today to have John DiJulius with us. He is a author and a international speaker, amongst many other things. He's a passionate customer experience advocate. Welcome, John, to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
John, as I was sort of going through all of your materials, which I did after having a really bad customer experience, which is sort of funny. I just sort of wondered what led you into this field. Can you give us some of the background or your backstory as to how you came to do what you do today?
Well, about 20 years ago, February 15th, in a couple weeks, we opened our first business, me and my wife, which was hair salon.
Okay.
Which was hair salon, a hair salon, and not knowing any different. It was like any other business. For us to truly stand out, obviously we had to do good haircuts or manicures or facials, but I was really passionate about the customer experience. I don't know why. It was just something I wanted. I thought everything else was a commodity. So just from day one. But it was hard, and I didn't want to. We didn't want to be known as a world-class customer service hair salon. We wanted to be known as a world-class customer service company, benchmarked against anyone. Mm-hmm. So that really started off being our primary focus from day one, and then just grew. And our business took off and exploded, and we started, opening and growing and expanding. And then from that, I started getting asked to speak on it, and had some success, and then decided to write my first book, Secret Service. And when that came out in 2003, it just launched me from a salon owner that spoke a little bit to a speaker that owned a salon, and then started getting asked to speak with these great companies. It was crazy. Only good companies, because customer service, hire me. And it seems like the opposite, but they're the ones that get it. They're the ones that are so paranoid and want to continue to, make that their point of difference. And so, I was learning more from them than I was probably teaching them. And then that's what got me to write What's the Secret, which it was a compilation of what all these world-class customer service companies do, that they have in common, which is the 10 Commandments.
Yeah. Oh, terrific. So for my audience, which are really a small business, I guess I'm just wondering whether it's easier for them to be more customer-centric and build their practices, or whether you think they face the same challenges as a large corporation.
That's a great question. One of the first points I make in the book and in all my presentations is, I was trying to answer what's the secret. Why is it so rare to find world-class experiences? Why is it so hard to find companies that, differentiate, try to train their employees? And why is it so hard to find employees that are willing to go the extra mile? And basically, what I say is, how can companies like Disney, Nordstrom's, and the Ritz-Carltons of the world, at least in the U.S., execute world-class customer service on a daily basis with 50,000 employees, and so many of us struggle with a team of 10 or 50? And it should be the opposite way around. Yeah. So I believe, we do have it easier if we create the culture in it. I mean, the one thing that us small companies have to constantly remind ourselves and our team members is the big boxes, the big organizations can never have that intimate relationship like the mom and pops can. But sometimes we forget about that. And the only advantage that we have, we don't take advantage of. And, now what are we competing with?
Yeah, no, that's really, I think that, I think as a small business myself, you really notice, or you're always watching when you get those standout experiences. I know me, I think, well, I don't know. I was wondering whether you would highlight this in your introduction, in terms of how you develop this. I call it customer centricity, but this mindset, this empathy for how it feels to be on the other side. And I don't know if that's something that individuals just have, or they experience something really terrible and then they start thinking about their own business. I just wondered whether you had a thought on that, whether it's an intrinsic sort of thing that if it happens at the manager level then they are conscious and want to build it, or whether they actually feel like now it's just part of business and they can learn it.
Great question, and that is the answer is the foundation of everything we share. How good a company's customer service is, the level at which they operate at, it comes down to one thing and one thing only, and that is the service aptitude. And you may call it, centricity. The service aptitude a person and a company has. So a lot of us managers and owners will complain about our employees and can't believe they handled it this way and they don't get it and all that. But service aptitude is not something innate. None of us were born with high service aptitude. You or I didn't have it when we graduated from whatever school we graduated. There's no customer service classes. Service aptitude comes from three places primarily prior to where we're at today. It comes from life experiences. And, typically life experiences didn't afford us the know-how of what world-class truly looks like. It comes from previous work experiences. And, most companies, as you know, aren't world-class. So the example there is, we could have a really good employee, very sweet, but the last place she worked, her owner, her boss, was very paranoid that customers were out to take advantage of them, so he would tell her to not let them. So she was being a good employee, and she did what he said. Well, now we get that person, and we have to unbrainwash them. And the third place that service aptitude gets shaped is current work experiences. So we could say it's all about customer first and world class and this, and it's on our website and all our marketing material. But how much time do we really spend training our employees on soft skill, service aptitude versus just technical, how to place orders, how to do the transaction, product knowledge, versus service recovery and engagement. And the word you use, which I love, is empathy. I think the two best words that we can have in our mindset is empathy and compassion. So to the other question, what we do with every client we work with, and I encourage all your viewers and listeners to partake in, is creating a day in the life of your customer. And what does that really look like? Because the biggest disconnect is the people we're typically selling to, the people we're serving, we're not them. We've never been them, right? We make a frontline, employee selling, to business owners that are buying products from us. Or we might, be at a hotel and, having business travelers come in, and we can't relate, because we don't travel every day. We don't know what that's like. So we don't have the empathy and compassion. So what we, do with all the companies we work with is we kind of create a 3 to 5 minute video of a day in the life of your customer. And you get to see all their challenges, personal, professional, the fires they're trying to put out, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh. And so when that phone rings or when they pull up to your door, you want to, give them that experience, because you just can, you now understand how important and how dependent they are on you to, make their day.
Oh, absolutely. And I love the video where you sort of explain that process from Starbucks, the experience of the person who doesn't want to look up from his phone and really is in a rush. I mean, that's accurate. People can identify with that as opposed to the mum that wants to have a bit of a chat because it is after 9. So I think that really resonates because it's authentic and people really say, yes, that is what happens. I did a couple of those, and I didn't even know, maybe from reading your book, with a client that I walked through that day, and I did it. I did it with the employees and with the team. And I guess my question for you is, we walked through it and said, what is it today? What happens from the customer's point of view from the moment they say hello to the moment you shake their hand or have the next engagement? And then what we did is we actually said, okay, this is what it is today. What could it be? Or what should it be? And that was a really good experience because a lot of people only get a section of that experience that they engage with. They never actually saw, and this was a construction company, the whole process. They had never, and some of them were new, never actually knew the part that each person played. So that was interesting from that perspective. But from the other perspective of finding these, I think you call them, issues or things that are broken or negative points in that. Surface defects. That was interesting to actually identify those. And then those delightful wow factors that you could put in. Not heaps, but maybe just one or two. And I just wondered from that perspective, we did that internally. And I just wondered, even if you did do something like that internally, should you be doing it again and again? Is it a one-off thing?
No, God, no. God, no. So when we do the customer experience cycle mapping, which we're talking about, we look at each point of contact that we can come in contact with the customer, and we look at it from the kind of the three perspectives: service defects, what we want to avoid, the standards that we should be delivering every time that really make us stand out, and the consistency factor, and then the above and beyond opportunities that may present themselves that I want you to jump all over if you have the time and the awareness to it. We try to make it for whenever we do the workshop, we always say, all right, this is not about today. This is about 2017. Mm-hmm. And what's nice about that is that removes all the barriers. So, instead of, if we thought about today, well, we can't do that because our technology doesn't allow us to do that, or our CRM system, or all the
limitations.
There's no limitations. Anything is realistic, and so we get some really, really outstanding ideas. Then what we try to do from that is create a plan. What's likely today that's significantly better than what we were doing yesterday. And then, let's work towards what 2014, 2015 can look like, and we get there a lot sooner. Yeah. But then we revisit it, 2 times a year, and always are looking at, hey, can we graduate some of these things, quicker, or what is something new that we've never thought of? And at least in the U.S., if you think about the revolutionary companies that changed, Apple and how Starbucks has in the U.S. and all these companies, they didn't ask the customer what they wanted. They created something that they couldn't live without. Yeah. And that's what we have to do. And we have to think so far outside the box that, companies are just like, wow, I never thought this was possible.
So when is it a good idea to engage a customer in that sort of process? Or is it useful?
Now, that's funny. We've always just done it internally with our employees. But besides traditional focus groups, one of the things that we just came up with is starting to do the customer experience cycle mapping with customers and let them go through each stage and get their insight. And you really understand with their pain points and even things that you never realized that it was really inconvenient to them that you never, picked up, or things that they felt that was unprofessional that never crossed your mind.
Yeah.
And you may still wouldn't agree with it, but if it's unprofessional to them, it's unprofessional.
Yeah, because they measure they say what the experience is.
You have your customers be part of that customer experience cycle. And your frontline employees, because if it's just you concocting it, it's hard to get buy-in.
Yeah, they don't own it. Yeah, because the path that I went down was because of an experience I had in servicing my car. And I hadn't been to this service provider before. And I went to drop off my keys, and just put it in a chute because that's what I'd done with the previous car. It was a new car. And there was no chute. So I sort of went in, and there was a nice receptionist said, "Oh, will you take a seat? We'll be with you in a minute." I thought, okay, that's okay. And then they called me out by my registration number. So they said, is WPQ123 here? And I thought, well, I don't even know my registration number.
Right.
It's a new car. And I didn't have it on me. So I had to go and look out the window at my car and went, oh, yeah, that's me. And so then I said, well, actually, yes, that's me. And then the person sat me down, it was a service person, and said, still didn't use my name. We're going to go through this. Is this seem okay to you? And I didn't know because it was a new car. I said, I guess. And then I said, when can I pick it up? Or, you know, at the end of the day. And that was fine. So I went on my way and I thought, God, that's really weird. And I thought, he didn't use my name. I didn't know his name. Why isn't there a key drop-off? All of these opportunities missed. And I did go back at the end and he was there. And I said, what's your name? I'm Mark. Mark, do you have a service where I could just drop these keys off? Because really this has taken a lot out of my day and I used to do that. Oh, no, I don't think we do that. And I said, are you sure? And he went and checked. There was a place to drop off the keys.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's where, you know, they're doing no new employee training.
No.
And, you know, the new generation of employees have no idea what they have or don't have.
Yeah, and even to just not have things like, you know, use the person's name. I mean, these were things that I would have just thought were commonplace. Basic. Yeah. So that turned me around. What do you think?
And how special did you feel being called out P9X, you know, 772?
Not real special.
Right.
And almost at the same time as that, it was a Christmas. And I was new to my now husband's family. And I had bought this ham. That was my contribution. And it was a branded ham. And I took it to the Christmas. And when we opened it, to my absolute horror, it wasn't right. You know, we couldn't eat it. And I was like devastated because this was my contribution. I was new to the family. You know, can you imagine? And so I wrote to the company and just said, you know, explained. And, you know, I couldn't believe it. The next day on my doorstep were all of these goods and an apology of how, you know, that it was a personal letter to me and how they were so sorry and that, you know, and could they also deliver it to my mother-in-law, blah, blah, blah. So you can see that I'm an advocate of that. That's
cool. That's cool. You know, and you were probably more impressed with them than had your ham been just fine the first time. Because they really demonstrated, you know, there's zero risk to deal with. You know, I mean, they're going to stand behind it and take care of it.
Well, exactly. And, you know, I've probably told that story a few times. So, one of my last questions is, you know, with all this new technology and CRM and social media, do you think that that's made, you know, this empathy for the customer or the personalisation or these touch points more or less personal, or what's the risk now that we've got this technology as a tool to communicate with one another?
Well, you know, it's gone both ways. Probably more to the, you know, less empathy because we can hide behind it. You know, when we used to go to bookstores, now we can order books online. When we used to go to banks, now we have, you know, online bill paying and, you know, direct deposits and, you know, you download videos instead of going to the theater. So it has removed, you know, interaction. Now, on the flip side, the pendulum has swung so far over to high tech, low touch, that many of us are dying to be a human being with a name instead of a 16-digit account number or VIN number or whatever that may be. So the companies that, you know, really understand, you know, if they can use technology in the positive and, you know, use your name and keep some stuff about you so they can ask you about, you know, your you know, new husband or, you know, how was your trip to Canada or anything that they can capture. We always try to teach our clients when dealing with customers, always focus on FORD. F-O-R-D, and that stands for Family, Occupation, Recreation, and Dreams. And, you know, you don't have to ask this stuff, but in the daily occurrence, you know, people overshare. And, you know, like, you know, you've just told 3 stories here, right? You capture stuff. You got a new car, right? You know, you told me earlier your husband was from Canada, and, you know, you recently been married, right? Because it was new in-laws, correct?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, you could pick up so many things So when you circle back the next time, or it might just be from your point a sales software. If nothing else, I just mentioned, hey, did you enjoy the products you bought, last month, or the highlights you got, or did anybody notice, the highlights you got last month? I mean, our softwares tell us so much today about what people do that we should be able to personalize it instead of just treating you like a transaction.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's the challenge, isn't it? It's not going to the extent of being too creepy, but also, showing that you actually understand and care. And I think care is a big part of it. Yeah.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. So what are you up to now? What are you up to with your company? What's next for you over the next sort of 12 months?
We're just, we've really it turned into almost a full-fledged consulting company. About 5 or 7 years ago, we spoke, keynotes and stuff more than anything. And now we do more consulting, 1, 2, 3 year processes. We also certify people. We have this great, so we have this Secret Service certification where people from all over the world will come to Cleveland, get trained, and take it back. And we have a gentleman from Sydney that has come about 4 or 5 times, and he's just exceptional. And he's a dentist, Dr. David Moffat, and he's now created a company out there called the Ultimate Patient Experience, and he helps dentists and medical companies with creating a world-class patient experience. He does just such a great job. So it's exciting because we're trying to create a customer service revolution, and we can't do it by ourselves. So we need people to help us so this doesn't become so a world-class experience doesn't become so unique and rare.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually more accessible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really thank you for your time today. I know you're a busy man, and you've given us such great nuggets that I'll take away. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Anytime. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.